So, lads, today we're going to be reacting to a power rankings. Says the Fever still have a long way to go. The Fever still have a long way to go. So let's talk about this. So the Indiana Fever, if you after the rough start they had last season when Kelsey Mitchell was injured and Caitlin Clark was figuring it out, they were the fourth best team, or sorry, they were the fourth or fifth best team. Yeah, sorry, they were better than the Sun. So after the first 10 games, I know when you look at the standings, that has to be taken into account. But after they figured it out, they were the fourth best team in the WNBA. They did better than the Storm, they did better than the Sun. The Aces, in fairness, the Aces were third, Lynx, and then Liberty. So they were the fourth best team in the WNBA. So let's scroll all the way down and assume you've got the Valkyries at 13. Yeah. The WNBA's newest team gets the final spot mostly because there's no evidence to prove otherwise. They're putting together a roster full of international talent, and some veterans will help them. It will take some time to form a team identity and put pieces together. The Valkyries are literally just getting the best pieces available. That's what they're doing. They're getting the best pieces available, and then if the players don't come over, they don't come over. Half the team's leaving in Eurobasket. It seems like they're almost doing what the Liberty are doing, just trying to get every bit of international talent on their roster, get the rights to them. The Connecticut Sun at 12. When you think all the movement in the top middle section of these rankings, the Sun ended up being a casualty amongst those moves. They lost their entire starting five in season trades and free agency signings, only holding on to Breanna Mabry in all of it. Mabry has even requested a trade out. She's demanded a trade out. But the Sun don't seem keen on honoring that request yet. Yeah, these losses make Connecticut a pretty good landing place for young players, an opportunity to develop and carve out a lasting place in the league. I agree. And the best thing for the Sky is that the Sky own their pick. They don't even own their pick this year. That's not good. That is not good at all. They don't own their pick. And is it a pick swap? They own the Mercury's pick. So yeah, they own the Phoenix Mercury's pick this year. They don't own their own pick. So realistically, their record isn't going to affect them. Unless they really don't want to screw the... unless they just aren't actively just trying to screw the Sky. But yeah, so at number 11 is the Mystics. Fair. These are the three teams I would consider just in the tankathon. They're in the tankathon. I think anyone above this can make the playoffs. It's rebuilding time in Washington. They have a great path. Their young core of Shakira, Austin, Edwards, and their three high draft picks in Citron, Iriafen, and Amor could turn into a great team. Why is everybody talking about Amor as this unbelievable... not that she's not a good player, but they're like, she's going to be part of their young core, and not mention Jade Melbourne. Jade Melbourne is 2 years younger than Georgia Amor. 2 years younger. And not only that, she is the starting point guard for the Australian women's national team. A team that Georgia Amor did not even make. She didn't even make the 12 for the Olympics. Jade Melbourne was their starting point guard and was not that far off making an Olympic All-Star. Why is the fourth choice point guard for Australia, who's 2 years older than the first choice point guard, a better building block than the first choice point guard for Australia? Jade Melbourne is the most disrespected player in the WNBA because people forget she was the youngest player, or Rasika Kone. Just because she was drafted in 2022, she was even in year 3, she was still the second youngest or the youngest, I can't remember, player in the WNBA. She's gonna be one of the 15 youngest players in the WNBA this year, even though she's in year 4. You have to take that into account. Jade Melbourne is a key rebuilding piece on this team. Chicago Sky 10. Wow. It just depends. It really depends on how well this duo does. Year 2 of Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso should be exciting as the Sky look to add some better in pieces. Courtney Vandersloot is back. The Sky trade for Ariel Atkins. The Sky are way better than last year. We can be honest. The Sky are so much better than last year. Ariel Atkins is fantastic. Sloot, as much as Sloot is not what she used to be, Sloot's still an upgrade on Lindsay Allen and Dane Evans. Hailey Van Lith is at worst a lateral move from Dana Evans. They lose Kennedy Carter, but Ariel Atkins is not at her best, but he's going to be more consistent and plays more defense than Kennedy Carter. Is there a team that could outperform this ranking but also have some pieces to figure out before being back in playoff contention? They're in playoff contention. Them, the Wings, the Sparks, the Dream are all very similar level. And number 9, the Sparks. The Sparks are a team trying to figure out their identity, but seem to be getting closer. Brink should be back in July. Join Rakia Jackson. The team has now added Kelsey Plum. I'm sorry, how can you put a team with Kelsey Plum, Dearica Hamby, Rakia Jackson, and a Hammer Brink coming back? How are they worse than the Wings? How are they worse than the Wings? The Wings only have one center on their roster, and it's Tierra McCown, who can't play defense. Literally cannot play defense. Their team has one defender. One and a half perimeter defenders. Paige isn't a terrible one. You've got an Enrique problem, which unfortunately Enrique might be the only solution to the Enrique problem. But like, there's no way the Sparks are worse than the Wings. There's no way. And the Sparks also have Odyssey Sims, who's the best backup point guard in the W, if she doesn't end up starting. They've got Azare Stevens, who when Brink is back, Cameron Brink's probably going to come off the bench, is a solid starting center. The Sparks went into tank mode last year. The Sparks are not that bad. The Wings at 8. New general manager Kurt Miller fully overhauled the roster, building everything around Paige Bueckers. Bueckers will come in and make an immediate impact alongside Enrique, Deschanel, and the rest of the Wings' mixed bag of players. It'll be interesting to see how this team performs, but the talent is there on paper. Similar to Fever last season, surely they evaluate Bueckers' adjustment to the WNBA and take notes for next season. So the Dallas Wings employ NaLyssa Smith, and she is apparently going to be a major part of the rotation. Maddie Siegrist, NaLyssa Smith, and I don't know what they're going to do. Like, nobody plays defense on this team. Enrique doesn't play defense, she just gets steals. Paige, passable defender at best at the WNBA level. Not a bad defender, high IQ, but like, we saw, like, she's not going to be able to really guard anybody. She didn't really guard anybody most of the time in college. Like, she's a versatile defender, not particularly good. When Dejanay's lockdown, and the rest of the team, Seager's not a good defender. NaLyssa Smith is the worst defender in the league. Tierra McCown is the worst defensive center in the league. And Ty Harris is good. I mean, Ty Harris can play a little bit, but how much is Ty Harris going to play? I don't know. Do they start Dejanay at power forward? Or is Ty Harris their probable third best player day one gone? But yeah, it's a mad one. It is a mad one. And I just want to say this right now. I'm recording this at 27 minutes past midnight because apparently I have to timestamp. Every one of my videos. So yeah, apparently I have to do that now. So I'm timestamping this video just in case something else happens between the end of recording and uploading. But the Atlanta Dream at 7. The Dream are an interesting team. I just saw they did not just put the Fever at 6. The Dream, like, you literally brought in a coach. You brought in a coach whose whole thing is like small ball, pace and space and all this crap. And with said coach, you decided to bring in the slowest power forward center combo in the history of sports. Mad. The Indiana Fever at 6. Oh my God. The Indiana Fever left Caitlin Clark's rookie season with a blueprint of how to proceed in order to capitalize on their star. They added experience into Juana Bonner and Tasha Hare, as well as re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. The remaining core of last year's team in Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull will now have mentorship from these players. The big upgrade was the hiring of Stephanie White, but expect Fever to continue to put pieces together this season, inching closer to full potential as a full team with a Clark lean team. 6. You think the Seattle Storm weren't even better than the Fever last year? The Seattle Storm, unless you fully believe, I'm just going to say this. The only logic for the Storm being ahead of the Fever is if you believe they got better simply by losing Jewel Lloyd. But by that logic, the Aces are not better than the Fever because the Aces gained Jewel Lloyd. But if you believe Jewel Lloyd is an asset to the Aces while losing Kelsey Plum, losing Meg Gustafson for a chunk in the middle of the season, losing, or if you think Liz Kitley's going to do anything crazy, if you think that Jewel Lloyd is addition by subtraction for the Seattle Storm, then Jewel Lloyd has to push the Aces below the Fever. And if you don't believe that, then how is a team that was better last year, the Fever were better than the Storm last year. They were, especially towards the end of the season. They were better. So how is a team who gains, yes, you gain Dominique Malonga, is not going to come in right away and do that much as a rookie, and is leaving for a month in the middle of the season. Gabby Williams is leaving for a month in the middle of the season. Jordan Horston has tore her ACL. So how are the Storm better than the Fever? I'm guessing Aces number 2. I'm gonna see Aces number 2 here. Storm number 5. Storm had a successful offseason despite moving on from Jewel Lloyd. The last member of Lloyd, Stewie Bird Championship Corps. Alongside Diggins and Necka, the Storm re-signed Gabby Williams, got Lexi Brown to trade, and brought back Alicia Clark. Alicia Clark is 38 years old. Lexi Brown, when she plays, is fine, but like she has Crohn's disease. She might play 3 games and be done for the season. Ezzy Magor is still on contract, and they drafted Dominique Malonga, 6'6" French phenom. Explain to me how the Seattle Storm are better than the Indiana Fever. Not only that, the Seattle Storm had a nightmare end to last season. They had a nightmare end to the season. They were comfortably in the 4th seed and then just blew it towards the end of the season. And then got smoked by the Aces in the playoffs. And not only that, Necka's older. Skylar Diggins is older. There is no argument for the Seattle Storm above the Indiana Fever. This is dumb. And even if hindsight being 2020, this ends up happening, you also, again, have to take into account Malonga is vanishing for a month in the middle of the season, so is Gabby Williams. And I don't think the majority of WNBA media realize that the Seattle Storm are losing 2 of their players for a month in the middle of the season. The Phoenix Mercury have 4. The Phoenix Mercury have 2 players. Have 3 players. The Phoenix Mercury have 3 players. That is it. Albeit 3 really good players in Kat Copper, Alyssa Thomas, and Satu Sabli. Let me list off the other players the Phoenix Mercury have. Outside of their big 3, they have Maddie Westbell's sister. They have a bunch of people that I don't know if they're going to make the team. Tamira Poindexter, who went undrafted this year. Natasha Mack, who is, again, a mediocre bench player. Sevgi Uzun, who was the worst starting point guard in the W last year. Celeste Taylor, who is fine. Absolutely fine. But, like, a decent 5-minute-a-game player. Sammy Whitcomb is, like, 37. Laxa got cooked by Ireland in FIBA Eurobasket qualifiers. Kalani Brown is Tierra McCown 2.0. This team is going to start Uzun at the point guard. They're going to have the worst starting point guard in the W, and the worst center in the W, and the worst bench. How can a team with the worst starting point guard, the worst center, and the worst bench be the 14? Be 4? I'm sorry. Obviously, Brittany Griner. They lost Taurasi, they lost Griner. Yeah, they upgraded on those positions. But it's not like they didn't lose Beck Allen. It's not like they didn't lose Tash Cloud. It's not like they didn't lose Sophie Cunningham. They lost 3 key players. And, sorry, they lost Monique Billings too. They lost Monique Billings. They lost all their depth. It says here the team is untested, full of talented players. What do you mean full of talented players? They have 3. And, like, I like Sammy Whitcomb. She's, like, 38, though. She's 38. Or, sorry, 37. I'm wrong. I'm wrong by a year. I do want to apologize. She'll be 37 during the season. I understand 2-time champion. She's going to be 37. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? She did nothing last year for the Seattle Storm. Absolutely nothing. Like, by the way, she played 2 minutes in the playoffs for the Seattle Storm last year. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? The Mercury in 4th. The Mercury are more likely, and yeah, they could finish 4th. They are more likely to finish below the Sky than above the Fever. And I stand by that. They're more likely to finish below the Sky than above the Fever. Because all it takes is one injury to the unbelievably injury-prone Satu Sabli, and they've got nothing. The Vegas Ace is 3rd. How do you lose Kelsey Plum and replace her with a worse player and get better? What are we doing? They lose Kelsey Plum, they lose Alicia Clark, they lose Kate Martin, and what do they replace them with? Tiffany Mitchell, who did not play much last season, and replaced her with a worse player. How do you go get better with that? While the Aces missed their chance at a 3-peat, they're still in the top tier of WNBA teams. Another team kept most of its core intact. What do you mean most of its core? They kept 3 players. They kept 3 players, unless you can consider Kia Stokes an asset to a team. But Lloyd did not have the great season in Seattle, but the Olympic and world champion is skilled beyond measure and will benefit from a change of scenery. With AJ Wilson's record-breaking season and her ability to continue unlocking new parts of her game, Vegas is going to continue to be elite. I don't hate Vegas at 3rd. I don't agree with it. I don't absolutely hate it. But like, sixth. Their backup point guard chose to go to Indiana. Their backup point guard, who's at the end of her career, where the only thing that matters is winning titles, chose to leave to go to Indiana for less money because they all get extra 100K. The Minnesota Lynx, the other half of the finals last season, did not need to do much. The offseason, since their core was in their contract, they ended up trading for Carly Samuelson, probably their most significant offseason move. No, it wasn't. It was bringing Jessica Shepard back and also losing Maisha Hines-Allen, but obviously there's no mention for that. With Fee Collier playing better than ever on Rival, Lynx are poised to have another great season. That's fine. I can guarantee you whoever wrote this, it either was written before Jessica Shepard came back or they didn't even know. And the fact that there's no mention of Maisha Hines-Allen leaving, heck, there's no mention of Chechi Zandalasini leaving, because Carly Samuelson, realistically, is a lateral move from Chechi Zandalasini. I don't know who's better. I think you can make an argument for either, but I think it's a lateral move anyway. And the Liberty number 1. And apparently Leonie Fiebich is a new player. Apparently the additions of Marine Johannes and Fiebich, I could have swore she averaged like 14 points per game in the finals. I could have swore she's not a new addition. But apparently Leonie Fiebich is a brand new player for the New York Liberty. So yeah, madness. Absolute madness. And yeah, that is the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And thank you guys for watching. 12:36 p.m. Irish time. Please like, comment, and subscribe.